Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So today we're actually going to be looking at hold on. So today's video is not going to be a showcase video per se. It's going to be like more me kind of like a guide. I think that's the best way to explain this. So I recently had a commenter who told me that he kind of struggled with creating window designs and stuff like that. So yeah, this is kind of like the video for that if you are a person who struggles for window designs. Pretty much right now I am in my studio world, which is pretty large at this point. Which, by the way, if you'd like me to showcase builds within the studio world, because they're not all like in videos, if you'd like me to showcase these for you, please let me know down in the comments. You know, because I'd actually love to go through this world and kind of see all the wacky stuff that I've kind of built over the months and years. Yeah, if you struggle with window designs, this is kind of the video for you. I'm gonna go through 4 houses that I kind of have picked out that kind of show everything that I kind of want to explain to you guys. So yeah, if you guys are ready to go, let's dive right in. So for the first house, we're actually going to look at the first house I actually ever built for this channel, which is this house right here. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find the house where I actually built it for the video, the first video I ever made, Minecraft related video. But so we're just going to look at the studio world, because the studio world kind of holds everything that I've built over however much time. So yeah, we're just going to look at the most basic window designs here, because this is kind of like the first build I ever really worked on, which is just, you know, with windows, you don't ever really have to work with glass. You can work with multiple different kinds of blocks and stuff. Like, it doesn't have to be, you know, a specific block or anything like that. So in this case, like, I was working with fences because I kind of wanted to create like a little bit more like just a different look to it. One of my main go-to things that I work on a lot, or that I do when I create builds, is that I use glass panes. This is especially if I'm gonna make builds where the wall is even with the pillars, the supporting pillars. In this case, what I did was that I placed the glass panes like this, and then I just took trapdoors and I just placed them on the sides. And then you can place buttons along the top and bottom. In this case, I only placed them along the top, and it pretty much creates like these really like nice is it windowsills? Or like, you know, the little like gates that you can use to like close the windows off and whatnot. So I kind of did that all around. And in this case, I also added like a little line of oak slabs at the top, just to kind of, oh wait, no, windowsill is at the bottom. So this is kind of just to cover up, kind of give the area a little more shade and stuff. That's kind of how I do all the windows. And in some cases, I kind of just leave the glass panes. So pretty much the takeaway here is that if you are used to using full blocks for your windows and your walls are kind of looking flat, glass panes can add just that little bit of extra depth without pretty much doing absolutely anything to kind of work on it. And lastly, for this build, this is kind of like the main, I guess, quote unquote, like complex part, which is kind of what I do with a lot of my windows as well, is that I add a little bit of a planter at the bottom. And this is just pretty much grass blocks placed along the bottom, trapdoors, an upside down stair, like so. I place a couple fences, and then I just create a design with like stairs and slabs, like kind of to go all around. And you know, you can also place like fences in the center like that, just to give it a more interesting look. And you know, if you're feeling a little crazy, you can also add like a stone brick in the center just to like divvy it up. And there you go. Now you got like a nice looking window. Sometimes I know that it can be a little intimidating to like maybe place a block that like sticks out beyond the wall, but I think that once the actual structure is built, like, and once it like, you know, works with the entire build itself, like, it doesn't look as awkward, because like, you know, all these like areas kind of stick out one block forward. So yeah, like, don't be afraid if it kind of looks like it's jutting out and it looks a little awkward. Like, once you actually finish what you're working on, you know, you can really look at it and be like, that doesn't actually look so weird after all. So moving on to the next build, this is one of my, I believe this is the second or third build that I ever worked on. This is kind of like a bridge house, so it's supposed to connect over a ravine, and the house is actually like sits on the bridge. And this follows a lot of the same elements as the previous build, but the interesting thing that I do here is that I actually add leaves on the sides to essentially work as planters, which I also did in the previous build, but in this case it's elevated. So to show you guys, I kind of added upside down stairs along the bottom, and then right below the window I added grass blocks, and then covered those up the sides with trapdoors, and then I placed upside down stairs. And then I did the same like window shade things on the sides to add that little bit of extra dimension, and buttons along the top. So, you know, you can mix and match all these designs, kind of make them look a little more interesting. And, you know, don't be scared of like, you know, getting rid of a trapdoor to maybe like place some leaves dropping down. Like, whoa, that was some lag right there. Once you like step away and you look at it, as you can see, it doesn't look that weird. I try to treat like building in Minecraft almost as if I'm like painting. Like if you get close to like the nitty gritty of it, you're gonna see a lot of mistakes, but once you get like the whole, you know, image, it doesn't look that weird. So, you know, that's something to keep in mind. One last thing about this build is that for the top area, as you can see, these windows are actually full blocks, but they're recessed. And what I mean by that is that I actually make the window design with full blocks in the front, and then I use full blocks of glass to pretty much place them one block back. So what this does is that it adds pretty much a lot of depth to your builds. This is kind of the best, most simple way to add proper depth to your build. You can obviously go like significantly crazier with more layers. So you can build your windows further back with significantly more detail, but one block depth usually adds quite a bit to like window designs as well. So in this case, like I just kind of made like a, you know, you can't make circles in Minecraft, but I made kind of like a weird circle shape, and then I just placed the windows in the back. And if you go inside, you can actually see where I just placed the square of glass, nothing interesting on the inside, just to essentially fill the shape from the outside. And just so that we kind of get a full look of what this build looks like, you can see the window design here with the windowsill, you know, same trapdoor design, and also you get that recessed window at the top. And as you can see, when you mix and match a lot of these designs, you kind of get this very like visually interesting build without having to create so much depth with the walls themselves. So moving on to probably one of the builds that I spent quite a bit of time on. This is called, I believe, the Wizard's House or something like that. It was built on a mushroom island, but it was completely like turned into Nylium or warped. It was pretty much like a warped biome in the overworld, and then I built this house on top of the island. But unfortunately, like I said before, I wasn't able to find the place that I actually built it on. So we're just looking at this house in specific. If you were to essentially take what I explained in the last two houses and combine it all together, you would get these sorts of window designs where like you create depth using full blocks, and then you use the glass paints to kind of add that little extra layer of depth as well. So, and then, you know, you have these like windowsills with pretty much grass blocks or like any sort of foliage block. And yeah, you essentially create these really cool window designs. This also uses the recessed walls. So as you can see, the walls actually start one block in from the supporting pillars. So that's typically something that when you start building, it's something that you want to do from the very beginning. Moving on towards the back, you actually have this like really large tower. With towers, it's kind of the same idea. I kind of work on the flat sides of the tower. I don't really ever build windows on like these sort of quote unquote like curved sides. So I pretty much do the same. You know, it might seem like it juts out a little bit, but once you look at the bigger image, like it looks completely normal. So same thing, I just kind of build around like a frame around the window with whatever looks interesting, and then I just kind of use glass panes to add that little bit of extra depth. And as you can see down here, I actually added a planter. Unfortunately, I can't cover that block up, so I kind of just left that open to the bottom, and you know, it doesn't look that weird. But same thing, upside down stairs, you know, foliage block and, you know, some roots in this case. And yeah, kind of did that all over the house, and you know, it looks pretty nice. So now we're actually in a place that I just call Bricktown because all the buildings are made out of brick. And this is kind of the first like proper town that I tried to make. I never kind of got around to finishing it, but hopefully, you know, if you guys are interested enough, you want to see more builds kind of based on this like design aesthetic. But the houses that I really want to highlight are these kind of like riverside houses that I created, or apartment buildings. And they're incomplete, like, you know, as you can see, because of the fact that I used create mod as some of the blocks, but unfortunately hasn't been updated to the latest version, so a lot of the blocks that I used are kind of just like missing. But the point of this build really was just to kind of show you the window designs here, and kind of what I used to create this like really interesting silhouette. I would argue that the previous build is probably significantly more complex than this one, but this one kind of mixes kind of all of those elements together into one to create this really like visually interesting building that apparently a lot of people have liked on the channel. I did a build showcase for this one, and a lot of people like are still viewing it and liking it, so you know, I figured that you know, I'd show it to you guys like one more time around here. So so pretty much the whole idea of this is that you have the recessed walls, and what I do here is that I used brick walls and I used stairs, and I kind of just like place one straight forward, place one upside down, place one forward, place one upside down, and then I ended with a brick wall. And the interesting thing is that this is one of my favorite things that I do, is that if you use brick or like any sort of wall, you actually here I can show you right here. If you connect them, the way that fence gates connect to brick walls, it sets them at a lower height. So when you connect fence gates to fence gates, you kind of get this little like really nice like arch. So that's kind of how I achieved this, and then I kind of exaggerated that arch by putting slabs under rather than full blocks to create this like silhouette. And yeah, in this case, because I used create windows from the create mod, these were previously window panes, so I can just, you know, fill this in like so, and then, you know, you have a really nice window design with a little windowsill with plants. So, you know, kind of the takeaway from this is that, as you can see, these buildings are just kind of generally the same shape, as you can see, like side by side. You don't need to create like these completely different, unique designs for every side of your house. Like, you can take a really good window design and kind of just throw it all around a house, and you can make it visually interesting without having to like burn yourself out every single time trying to think of like something different to put in. Because sometimes, in a lot of the cases, when you go and try to put different things on every single side of the house, what you actually end up creating is like it's almost like too unique on each side, and it doesn't seem to work together because there's no continuity between one side and the other. So there needs to be kind of like, the front of the house kind of needs to tell you the story of what the rest of the house is going to look like. You can't just have unique details all around. So as you can see, like, the same window designs are kind of present throughout the house. Like, the front of the house kind of tells you what the windows are going to look like on the sides and what they're going to look like on the back. And yeah, it kind of just gives you like the general idea. It's almost like you're telling a story with the build. And unfortunately, these builds are kind of like in disrepair because it's missing a lot of the blocks that I originally used. But the clock tower is pretty much fully vanilla. But as you can see, if you look at the clock tower from the front, you can kind of tell what's like going to go on in like the sides, what's going to go on like in the back, even though the back is like slightly different. And if you go inside, you can kind of achieve that same look, right? Like, you can tell that everything is kind of like going to look relatively the same. So that's kind of how you create like these sort of like visually interesting builds where you kind of just like without having to put in so much effort to create like unique details on all sides. So anyways, this concludes today's video. So, you know, if you guys liked whatever tips or whatever, you know, you saw today, Please make sure to give a like. Please make sure to subscribe. Leave any comments down. Please make sure to leave any comments down below to see, you know, commenting on like what you like, what you didn't like, what I could improve, you know, that sort of stuff. And if you would like to see more builds in this brick town, do let me know, because I do really enjoy building these sorts of builds. Let me know if you want to see more tips and tricks videos sort of like this, and that's kind of it. I hope you guys have an amazing and lovely day, and I'll see you in the next video.